Hello and welcome. Today I am reading a poem by my Facebook friend and poet Jayachandran, also known as Jayachandran Ramachandran. And from one of his from the comment of his of this poem, he has said the theme has been lingering in his mind for a couple of years, but he never got around to writing it. But now, thanks to COVID, he has somehow managed to pen down his thoughts. So I read all his poems, and I consider him as a very good poet, and I'm really honored. Find it very honored. I feel very honored to read this poem, which he so graciously allowed me to read on my not so popular YouTube channel. And the poem is titled "The Real Temptation of Christ." He has quoted from the Holy Bible, Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning star? Before the poem. So, this poem is about the last judgment, and it's about Pontius Pilate. And I'll read it so that it's almost like a story. And I found it very amazing and wonderful. The real temptation of Christ, and how he has risen to the throne of heaven, the beloved Son of Man. I beheld the strangest sight of all, which none would scarce believe, nor would witness in life or after death. But I swear I saw Judgment Day. Seated on a great white throne, there I beheld the Son of Man, flanked by archangels 3 and lesser angels many. Seraphim and Cherubim all bowed in awe and deference. A multitude stood in the queue, awaiting their fate on Judgment Day. Outside the pearly gates of heaven, that queue was long indeed, and Lucifer, with greedy eyes, hovered around to claim his due. A man was led up to the throne, whence he knelt and wept inconsolably. He wore the tunic of a man who wielded much power and clout. As sins were read out loud and clear, a great gasp escaped from the crowd. Surely this man was doubtless a sinner in the league of Judas. Pontius Pilate awaited his fate at the hands of the one he had thrown through the howling mobs of Jerusalem. Have pity never, shouted Raphael. His sin is almost unpardonable. He gazed in silence at the one who knelt with bowed head at his feet. None could make out what he taught, that radiant face, so calm and serene. He who had washed his hands off the sun, when he could have saved him very easily, was weeping before the Son of Man, awaiting judgment from his former prison. Outside the pearly gates of heaven, from where the multitude was in queue, Lucifer waited with gleaming eyes and licked his lips in wild greed. As Pilate knelt before the Lord, Michael whispered in hot anger, "Remember all those hours on the cross and every nail that was struck into you, and then the spear that pierced harshly. Have no pity, condemn him. Or better still, wash your hands off him and leave him to his fate." Then Pilate shuddered. His silent prayer was, "Hear me, please, my Lord Supreme. Every moment since that accursed day, I have known no peace of mind. With every breath, I have prayed for forgiveness. Pray, hear the sinner's plea of penitence. He winced that serene, holy face at the memory of that gruesome day, and he relieved every moment those whip lashings, the crown of thorns, their mocking, the heavy cross he dragged partway up to Calvary, the agony as each nail tore through his flesh, the scalding sun of that harsh afternoon, and that thirst. Oh, and that awful thirst that they quenched with vinegar. He heard the virgin howl as he screamed, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, as his soul was plucked out rudely from its bleeding body. While Pontius Pilate prostrated and pleaded forgiveness, all the angels in unison said, Condemn him, he deserves no mercy. Give him to the fires of hell. Let him roast there for eternity. Don't deny the devil his due. Let him go with Lucifer. The impatient crowd awaiting judgment also joined the chorus. Heed what the holy angels say. He deserves no pity at all. And all the bishops and the priests, clad in robes of various hues, lined up in the queue for judgment, said, Surely we will get through. But today is judgment day. Sinners like him shall roast in hell. He stood up with a crimson face. Was it anger writ all over? The man in tunic trembled uncontrollably as his tears washed the Lord's feet. His eyes fell down and they beheld a man, and all he could see was a miserable soul. A deep, great sorrow crept over his face. He shut his eyes and stood in a trance for a moment that seemed like an eternity. Then he bent and gently patted the sinner and yanked him up with a divine force that held him in a tight embrace and hugged him close to his loving heart. A loud sob escaped from his throat. He lifted his head and weeping said, You sent me there to gather the lost sheep. Forgive him. He knew not what he did that day. And he clung to his former judge, and as his tears flowed down like a deluge, it purified the repentant one. A great deep silence fell on heaven. The skies darkened with rumbling clouds, and all were stunned and astonished. Gabriel gasped, Did the Messiah falter? All held hands over their mouths, awaiting some terrible catastrophe. A great hush fell on the crowd outside. Lucifer alone knew the game was up, and he in silence slunk away, angry that his game was up. Out of nowhere came a voice, deep and booming for all to hear. O Emmanuel, my beloved Son, my precious, precious crowning glory, in whom I am pleased forever. You have passed this ultimate test. Your will be done here and down on earth, and in all the worlds that shall ever exist. For I have made thine enemy thy footstool, and thou hast raised him to the heavens. The sun came out and the skies cleared up, and as all the angels sang his praises, he held the sinner and never let go. He held the sinner and never let go. Poem copyright at R. Jayachandran, also known as Jayachandran Ramachandran. I hope you enjoyed this reading.